I always knew my wife, Jessica, had a cruel streak. But I never expected her to humiliate me in front of an entire ballroom full of people. It was her sister Rachel's wedding. A grand event, huge venue, white roses everywhere, a string quartet playing some overpriced melody in the background. Jessica had spent weeks talking about it, obsessing over the dresses, the decorations, the seating arrangements. What she didn't tell me was that I wasn't part of those arrangements. When I arrived, dressed in the suit she picked for me, I walked through the lavish double doors and saw a sea of white-clothed tables, candlelight flickering over guests already laughing, sipping champagne. My eyes scanned the room, looking for my seat. But my name wasn't on any of the place cards. I turned to Jessica. She was smirking. "Only close family gets a table," she said, her voice sickly sweet. I let out a small, disbelieving laugh. "You're joking, right?" Behind her, her mother, Susan, giggled into her champagne flute. "Guess you don't count." I felt the heat rise to my face. People were watching. Guests whispering, stealing glances at me like I was a stray dog that had wandered in. Jessica just shrugged, like I was some idiot for expecting respect in my own wife's family. And that's when I noticed something else. Jessica's phone had been lighting up with notifications all night. She had it in her hand, angled slightly away from me, but I caught glimpses of the messages. Heart emojis. Winking faces. "Can't wait to see you later." My stomach twisted. Something was wrong. But not here. Not in front of all these people. I forced a chuckle, reached for the wrapped wedding gift in my hands, and gripped it tight. "Then I'm leaving," I said, voice even. Jessica went pale. "Wait." But I didn't. I turned on my heel and walked out, leaving her standing there, looking like she had just seen a ghost. And maybe she had. Because the man who walked into that wedding was the devoted husband who took her crap for years. The man who walked out? That was someone different. Someone who had just figured out he was being played. And I wasn't about to let that slide. I drove home in silence, gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles went white. Jessica didn't call. Didn't text. Not even a half-hearted excuse. She knew. She knew she had just crossed a line, and for the first time in our marriage, I wasn't going to roll over and take it. When I got home, I went straight to our bedroom. Her nightstand drawer, the one she always kept locked, was open just a crack. My gut twisted. I pulled it open. Lingerie I had never seen before. A second phone. I pressed the power button. Locked. My heartbeat pounded in my ears as I checked the texts on her actual phone, the one she thought I'd never look through. She was careless. The messages weren't even hidden. "Tonight was amazing. I can't wait to do it again. He's so clueless." Face with tears of joy. A picture followed. Not of them. Just her. In that same lingerie, taking a mirror selfie in a hotel room I didn't recognize. I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the screen, my body frozen in place. It was real. I wasn't paranoid. I wasn't imagining things. She was cheating on me. And she was laughing about it. I clenched my jaw, breathing through the anger, the humiliation, the raw betrayal eating at my insides. The worst part wasn't even the cheating, it was the disrespect. The smugness. The way she saw me as nothing but an idiot who wouldn't dare fight back. The front door opened. Heels clicked against the floor. Jessica walked in, tossing her clutch on the counter like she hadn't just watched me be treated like garbage in front of her entire family. I stayed in the bedroom, gripping her phone, waiting. She appeared in the doorway, eyes widening for a split second before she plastered on that same fake smile. "Oh, baby, you didn't have to leave so early. You missed a beautiful ceremony." I held up the phone. Her smile faltered. What's that? I tapped the screen. The messages. The picture. Her face drained of color. For the first time since I met her, Jessica had nothing to say. She blinked fast, her mind scrambling for a way out, for some excuse she could throw at me that would make me look like the fool again. But this time, I wasn't letting her talk her way out of it. I stood up slowly, gripping the phone in my hand like a weapon. Who is he? My voice was calm. Too calm. Jessica's lips parted, but no words came out. Her fingers twitched at her sides. Then, like flipping a switch, she scoffed and rolled her eyes. Oh my God, you're overreacting. Overreacting. I laughed. A dry, humorless sound. So you didn't send these messages? She crossed her arms. Okay, fine. You wanna know? Yeah, I've been talking to someone. But it's not a big deal. Not a big deal. I took a slow breath through my nose. Who is he? She waved a hand, dismissive, like I was asking about the weather. It doesn't matter, because I was gonna end it anyway. I clenched my jaw so hard my teeth ached. You were gonna end it? She sighed dramatically, shaking her head like she was the victim in all this. Look, I didn't mean for it to happen. It was just. I don't know. I was bored. And you've been so, she gestured vaguely at me. I don't know, distant. I let out a sharp breath, shaking my head. You humiliated me tonight. Sat me in a damn hallway at a wedding like I was a nobody. And now you want to blame me for why you did this? She scoffed. Oh please. You should have just laughed it off. It was a joke. A joke. I stared at her, this stranger standing in front of me, the woman I married, the woman I once thought I'd spend my life with. She wasn't sorry. She wasn't ashamed. She wasn't even trying to hide it. Something inside me snapped. I didn't yell. I didn't break anything. But I did something worse. I stopped caring. You're disgusting, I said, my voice cold. She flinched, just a little, before her face twisted in anger. Oh, grow up. This happens all the time. Men do it too. I grabbed my keys. Not men like me. She smirked. Oh, so what? You're leaving. I walked past her. You'll find out soon enough. And with that, I walked out of my own house, slamming the door behind me. I sat in my car, gripping the wheel, my mind racing. The weight of everything pressed down on me, but the longer I sat there, the more something shifted inside me. I wasn't sad. I wasn't broken. I was done. Jessica had made her choice. She didn't respect me. She didn't love me. Hell, maybe she never did. Maybe I had been convenient, just another box for her to check off in her perfect little life. I took a deep breath, started the engine, and drove. I didn't even know where I was going, just away. Away from the lies, away from the smug smirk on her face, away from the house that wasn't a home anymore. Somewhere along the highway, my phone rang. I glanced at the screen. Jessica. I let it ring. Then another call. And another. A string of texts flooded my screen. Where the hell are you? You're being dramatic. Come home so we can talk like adults. I didn't even sleep with him, if that's what you're thinking. I barked out a bitter laugh. Of course, now that I was gone, she cared. Not because she wanted to fix things. No, Jessica hated losing control. I ignored every call, every message, until finally, one caught my eye. I didn't mean to hurt you. But you leaving like this is childish. Be a man and come home. I gripped my phone so tight I thought it might crack. Be a man. I turned off my phone. For the first time in years, I felt lighter. Hours passed before I stopped driving. I pulled into an old friend's driveway, Ethan, the kind of guy who had warned me about Jessica from the beginning. He took one look at me and didn't ask questions. Just opened the door, handed me a beer, and let me sit in silence. At some point, I spoke. "She's cheating." Ethan exhaled through his nose. "Yeah. Figured." I looked at him, frowning. "What?" He gave me a pointed look. "Man, everyone knew she was bad news. You were just too in love to see it." I let out a breath, rubbing my hands over my face. God, I was a damn idiot. "Nah," Ethan said. "You just trusted the wrong person." I took a sip of my beer, the cold bitterness grounding me. "She thinks I'll come crawling back." Ethan leaned back in his chair, shaking his head. "Then don't." And just like that, I knew. Jessica wanted control. She wanted to laugh at me, humiliate me, cheat on me and act like I was the problem. She had no idea what was coming next. The next morning, I woke up on Ethan's couch, my back sore but my mind clear. I grabbed my phone, turned it on, and saw the flood of messages waiting for me. Jessica had gone through every phase. First, the fake concern. "Let's talk." Then the guilt trip. "You're throwing everything away over nothing." Then the rage. "You better not be at Ethan's, I swear to God." That one made me smirk. Yeah, she knew. She knew the second I walked out that door, her grip on me started slipping. "Good." I texted back one word. "Lawyer." The typing bubble popped up instantly. Then disappeared. Then popped up again. She called. I let it ring. Then, a final message. "Oh, so you're serious? You think you can just leave?" I didn't respond. Instead, I got up, borrowed a shirt from Ethan, and drove straight to the house. Not to talk. Not to listen to her lies. I was done with that. I was there to take back my life. When I walked in, she was waiting. Sitting on the couch, arms crossed, still in last night's dress like she hadn't slept. Her makeup was smudged, her expression furious. "You're being ridiculous," she snapped as soon as I stepped inside. I ignored her, walking straight past her to the bedroom. She followed, hot on my heels. "Oh, so you're just gonna pack a bag? What, run to Ethan's and let him fill your head with his jealous bullsh** tea?" I unzipped my duffel, tossing in clothes, shoes, whatever I needed. Her voice rose. "I didn't even sleep with him." I paused. Looked at her. Yet. Her lips pressed together. That's when I knew. It wasn't about if she did, it was about when she would have if I hadn't found out. I shook my head. "You're pathetic." She scoffed. "Oh, please. You were never gonna leave me. You need me." I laughed. Then I zipped up my bag, slung it over my shoulder, and walked right past her. She grabbed my arm. "You're making a mistake." I looked down at her, into those lying, manipulative eyes. The same eyes that had looked me in the face every day while she snuck around behind my back. "No," I said, yanking free. "I made a mistake marrying you." And with that, I walked out. This time, for good. The sound of the door slamming behind me was the most satisfying thing I had heard in years. I walked to my car, feeling the weight of my past life with Jessica finally lifting. No more gaslighting, no more fake apologies, no more of her smug little smirks when she thought she had me wrapped around her finger. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I already knew it was her. I didn't check. Instead, I started the car and drove straight to a lawyer's office. I wasn't going to drag this out, wasn't going to give her time to play her manipulative games. I wanted out. Fast. The lawyer, a no-nonsense guy named Richardson, listened while I laid it all out. The wedding humiliation. The texts. The smirks. The complete and utter disrespect. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and nodded. Good news? No kids, no house in both names. This'll be clean. Perfect, I said, barely recognizing my own voice. By the time I left, the papers were being drawn up. This was happening. That's when I finally checked my phone. 14 missed calls. Jessica, I hope you're happy. Jessica, you think you can just divorce me like this? Jessica, I made one mistake and you're ruining everything. Jessica, don't think I'll make this easy for you. I smirked at that last one. She was still playing the game, still thinking I'd come crawling back if she made enough noise. She had no idea that I had stopped playing. Ethan had a beer waiting for me when I got back. So, how'd it go? I held up the folder with the divorce papers. Like a dream. He grinned. Man, I never thought I'd see the day. Yeah, I muttered, taking a sip. Me neither. A week passed. She sent more texts. Some angry, some sweet, some filled with cheap manipulation. Then one night, out of nowhere. Jessica, we need to talk. I ignored it. Jessica, come over. Please. Something about that one made me pause. Ethan glanced at me. Dude. Don't. I should have listened. But part of me needed to see. Needed to know how far she was willing to go. So I went. And when I walked through the door, I saw him. Sitting on my couch. Drinking a beer. Like he owned the place. Jessica stood next to him, arms crossed, wearing that same damn smirk. Oh, look who finally showed up. I clenched my jaw. Who the hell is this? The guy raised his bottle in some fake-ass greeting. Name's Ryan. Jessica laughed. You're acting like you don't already know. My blood ran cold. Are you serious? I asked. She tilted her head. I mean, since you're divorcing me anyway, why pretend? The rage in my chest was unreal. She had called me over just to rub it in my face. But that was the moment I saw it, the truth. Jessica wasn't mad because I was leaving. She was mad because she lost control. I smiled. A real, slow, easy smile. Then I turned around and walked back out. And I didn't look back. I got into my car, heart pounding, but not with anger anymore. No, this time, it was something else. Something close to relief. Jessica wanted a reaction. She wanted me to explode, to beg, to fight, to give her some kind of twisted satisfaction. But I had given her nothing. And that? That killed her more than anything. My phone buzzed before I even pulled out of the driveway. Jessica, oh, so that's it? You're just gonna walk away? Jessica, real mature. Jessica, you're such a coward, you know that? Jessica, Ryan's more of a man than you ever were. I exhaled, tossed my phone onto the passenger seat, and drove away from the last mistake I would ever make. That night, Ethan and I sat on his porch, drinking, not saying much. He didn't need to ask what happened. The moment he saw my face, he just nodded. She pulled something, didn't she? I smirked. Oh yeah. Let me guess, she tried to make you jealous. I took a sip of my beer. Something like that. Ethan laughed. Jesus. She really thought you'd crack. She doesn't know what to do now, I muttered. She lost. And that was the real win. The next few weeks were quiet. The divorce papers were filed. Jessica tried to delay them, of course. Suddenly, she wasn't in such a rush to let me go. She played the victim card in front of our mutual friends, acted like she had been confused and emotionally neglected, and a bunch of other garbage meant to make me look like the bad guy. But the thing about people like Jessica? They never know when to stop. A few days later, she posted a picture with Ryan. Captioned it, "Finally with someone who treats me right, red heart." That was her first mistake. Because, as it turned out, Ryan had a girlfriend. And she saw everything. By the end of the night, the comments under Jessica's post were a war zone. Ryan's girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, now, blasted them both, dropping receipts, screenshots, and the kind of truth Jessica had never been ready for. I didn't comment. Didn't say a word. Just sat back and watched as the house of lies she built burned to the ground. She called me. I let it go to voicemail. Then another. Then a text. "We need to talk." I laughed to myself, shaking my head. Jessica, Jessica, Jessica. Some people never learn. I blocked her number. And just like that, she was gone. Months passed, and life started to feel normal again, better than normal. No more walking on eggshells, no more second-guessing everything I said or did, no more coming home to a woman who looked at me like I was just some option instead of her husband. Jessica tried to reach me a few more times. Burner numbers, emails, even showing up at my gym once, pretending it was all a coincidence. I didn't engage. I didn't even acknowledge her. Because here's the thing about people like her, they need a reaction. That's how they survive. But when you give them nothing? When they realize they don't have that power over you anymore? They crumble. One night, Ethan and I were grabbing drinks when one of our old mutual friends, Dave, walked in. He saw me, smirked, and shook his head. "Man, have you heard?" I raised an eyebrow. "Heard what?" He laughed, shaking his head. "Jessica's a mess. She and Ryan lasted about a month before he cheated on her." I took a slow sip of my beer, letting that settle in. "You don't say." "Oh yeah," Dave continued. "And guess what? She actually tried to run back to her ex before you." I chuckled. "How'd that go?" He grinned. "Let's just say he wasn't as nice as you." I leaned back in my chair, feeling nothing but satisfaction. Not because I wanted her to suffer, but because I didn't care. She was nothing to me now. By the time I walked out of that bar, I realized something. I had won. Not because I got revenge. Not because she got what she deserved. I won because I was free. One evening, as I was heading home from work, I got a text from an unknown number. "Hey. Can we talk? Please." I stared at it for a second, then smirked. Jessica. She wasn't creative. She had burned through every way to reach me, and now she was resorting to this, begging. I didn't reply. An hour later, another text. "I just need closure." Closure. That was rich, coming from her. I put my phone down and went about my night. Cooked dinner, watched a movie, got ready for bed. And just as I was about to fall asleep, my doorbell rang. I groaned, sat up, and checked my phone. No new messages. No calls. I already knew who it was. I got up, walked to the door, and looked through the peephole. Jessica. She stood there, arms crossed, looking miserable. She had lost weight, her makeup was smudged, and her hair was a mess. For the first time ever, she looked small. Pathetic. I didn't open the door. She knocked again, more urgently this time. Then, after a long silence. "I know you're there." Of course she did. I leaned against the door, not saying a word. She exhaled loudly. Just let me in for 5 minutes." I just want to talk. Silence. Then, quieter, please. I let the words hang there, soaking in the sheer irony of it all. This was the same woman who had laughed at me. Who had humiliated me. Who had treated me like I was disposable, replaceable, like I was nothing. And now? Now she was the one standing outside my door, begging. I smiled to myself. Then I turned off the lights and walked away. Let her stand there. Let her feel it. For once in her life, let her know what it's like to be ignored. The next morning, I stepped outside to get my paper, half expecting to see Jessica still there, curled up on my doorstep like some abandoned pet. But she was gone. Good. I sipped my coffee, enjoying the quiet, the peace, the absolute lack of drama. The chapter of my life with Jessica was over. Completely. Days passed. Then weeks. No more texts. No more surprise visits. No more pathetic attempts to get me back. I had one. One evening, I got a message from Ethan. "Dude, you are gonna love this." He sent a screenshot. It was a Facebook post from Jessica. Some people throw away the best thing they ever had and don't even realize it until it's too late. I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my phone. The best thing? Her? Nah. The best thing was me finally walking away. I tossed my phone on the couch, grabbed a beer, and sat back, feeling lighter than I had in years. Jessica was nothing but a bad memory now. And me? I was finally free.